going to talk about syllable patterns in words. Before we get started, let's start by talking about a few things you might already know about syllables. One thing you might already know about syllables is that every syllable has a vowel. Another thing you might know is that there are different patterns of syllables. One pattern you might know is what we call an open syllable pattern. We see that in the word title. Let's break the word title together. Ready? Ready to break it with me? Title. First thing you might notice in the word title is that each syllable has a vowel. The second thing you might notice is what's happening in that first syllable. That might be a pattern you already know. That's our open syllable pattern. The syllable ends in a vowel and the vowel makes a long sound. Title. Another pattern you might know in syllables is what we call the closed syllable pattern. And that's when a syllable ends in a consonant and the sound the vowel makes is short. And we see that in the word riddle. Will you break riddle with me? Riddle. Riddle. So that first syllable in riddle has that closed syllable pattern that you might already know. The syllable ends in a consonant and the vowel makes a short sound. Today we're going to explore another syllable pattern that happens often at the ends of words. But before we do that, I have a poem to share with you. I'm going to read the poem, we'll talk about it a bit, and then we're going to use the poem to explore this syllable pattern that we're going to talk about today. Right. So the poem that I had to share with you today is called Sky Gazing. When you gaze at something, you look at it. You often look at it sort of maybe for a little bit of a longer time than just a quick glance, and it's often something you look at with wonder. You might gaze at something that you really admire. So for example, if you admire the sunset, you might gaze at the sunset. If you admire your favorite pet, you might gaze at your favorite pet. We usually gaze at something that we admire, we like. So my husband and I both love walking outdoors and we love the sky. And over lunch we were talking about how fun it is and how relaxing it is to look up at the sky. So we wrote a little poem that we called Sky Gazing. So I'm going to share this poem with you today. Sky Gazing. I love to gaze up at the sky. What a sight. Stars twinkle, sun sparkles. I am filled with delight. A gaggle of geese fly south to the light, while an eagle above soars to great height. And this was written by my husband, Eric White, and by myself. What is this poem making you think about? Maybe you're thinking about a time when you were out staring up at the sky and what you might have seen and how it made you feel. Or maybe you're thinking about what you notice about the sun and how it might sparkle outside of your window. Whatever you're thinking about, I hope you're enjoying it. So let's go ahead and talk a bit about what's happening with some of the words in this poem. So one syllable pattern that we see often at the ends of words is when we have a consonant that's followed by an LE. And we see that in the words title and riddle, for example. So if we take a look at these words, you'll notice this pattern at the end, that last syllable of the word. So in title, this happens, we have that consonant T followed by that LE. And that makes up the last syllable of the word, title. We see it again here in the word riddle. We have our first syllable with that closed pattern, and then we have our final last syllable with our consonant D and that LE at the end. So this is a pattern that we see a lot in syllables that come at the ends of words. So we have a consonant followed by that LE. So let's take a look at our poem together to see what words we find that might have this syllable pattern, this final syllable pattern. Take a look and see which words you notice, and then we'll talk about them. You finding some? So one word that you might have noticed that you think might have the pattern is the word twinkle. The stars twinkle. So let's take a look and see what's happening in this word, twinkle. Will you break this word with me? Twinkle. So it breaks right here What do we have happening in that final syllable? Yeah, you noticed it, didn't you? We have our consonant, K, and then that L-E, twinkle. That's why the word breaks like that, twinkle. Where else do we see that pattern? You probably see it in that word sparkle or sparkles. Let's go ahead and break that word, sparkle. Where do you hear that syllable break? Yeah, right there between the R and the K. And look what's happening with that final syllable. You have that consonant with your L-E at the end. That's a pattern. That's a pattern that comes in syllables at the ends of words sometimes. Sparkle. Where else do you see this pattern happening in our poem? Go ahead and take a look. And then we'll talk about what you might be noticing. Did you see it? In the word gaggle. A gaggle of geese. A gaggle of geese is a group of geese. We call a group of geese together a gaggle. So let's take a look at the word gaggle. How many syllables do you hear? That's right, 2 syllables. Gaggle. Where do you think we might break this word? Yeah, you got it right between that double G. So what's happening with that final syllable? There we have it. There's our consonant G and our L-E pattern. And you might even have noticed a closed syllable pattern in this first part of the word, gaggle. So gaggle is a word that's built with a closed syllable and then with what we call a final stable syllable. And the reason we call it that is because it happens often at the ends of words, and stable just means it doesn't change a lot. It's a pattern that is pretty predictable. Gaggle. Where else do we see that pattern of a consonant plus an L-E at the end of the word? Oh, I think I heard you say it. Eagle. Let's go ahead and break the word eagle. Right there. And what do we have happening here? There we have our consonant G with our L-E, eagle. So one of the things you can do as you're reading or as you're writing is you can use what you know about this pattern of a consonant plus L-E in the last syllable of a word to help you figure out how to break into a word when you're trying to read a new word or write a new word. And we'll go ahead and explore this pattern a bit more tomorrow. Thanks.